Okay, I'm gonna do a video. My video today is gonna be on, is God showing us something in this year's Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers? Is He showing us something? I believe He is. And I know a lot of people would say God doesn't work through, He doesn't do miracles in football games, or He wouldn't use that. But I'm going to show you how God has already done an amazing miracle in a football game. It's called the John 3:16 football game. And we're going to look at that and review it. And it was an amazing miracle what God did there. And then I'm going to look at this year's Super Bowl and what God is showing us in this year's Super Bowl. And then I'm going to go to the Bible. We're going to do a little Bible study. And I'm going to show you what I think God is showing us in this year's Super Bowl. And it's about something that I believe is about to happen. So first of all, I want to go to the first miracle in the football game, the John 3:16 football game. This guy here, Tim Tebow, on the left, or well, on the screen, Tim Tebow, he is a very strong Christian man. You probably know him. You probably even heard of this game. Um, he had a great career at the University of Florida. He was born in. His parents were Baptist missionaries. His birth was a miracle birth. His mother was having complications. I think she even went into a coma, but she came out of it, and they told her that she should get an abortion. And of course, being a strong Christian woman, she refused and had Tim. And obviously, he was very, very healthy. And he grew up to be a very devout Christian and a very outspoken Christian. Every time you seen him do an interview or a press conference, he would always thank his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. He would start all his interviews this way. Very amazing, very impressive young man, this Tim Tebow. So Tim Tebow, we're going to read his little story here. We're going to relive, here it says, relive Tim Tebow's 3:16 coincidence that creeped everyone out. It creeped you out. Look at the headline there. It creeped everyone out. It didn't creep you out if you were a Christian. You love his story. It creeps you out if you're an atheist or an unbeliever. So let's read his story. There is only one Tim Tebow. Love him or hate him, you can't deny he has a way of captivating people like few other figures in sports can. Whether it be his promised speech that fueled the Florida Gators to their 2008 national championship title, or kind of saving a life in a minor league baseball game, or even starring in a controversial anti-abortion Super Bowl ad. Tebow has an unbelievable aura that people just can't seem to get enough of one way or the other. The main reason Tebow, despite all the good he's done in the world, is so polarizing is because he's so outspoken in sharing his Christian faith that some of his detractors classify it as to shove it down your throat. Never was that more evident in the 2009 BCS National Championship game between Florida and Oklahoma. Tebow wrote a Bible verse, John 3:16, in eye black beneath his eyes for the game, a practice that was later banned by the NCAA in 2010. Then 90 million people Googled the verse that reads, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." Think about that for a minute. Hold on, just stop reading here. He writes John 3:16. He's in the national championship game for college football, Division 1. 90 million people Google this verse. You think what a great thing that people are turning to, Googling this great verse in the Bible, this intriguing verse. But no, what does the NCAA do? They banned it. A practice that was later banned by the NCAA in 2010. These are the times we are living in. How crazy. Why would you ban that? But that's the times we live in. I just thought it was amazing that the NCAA did that. They banned it. But let's keep reading. Here's where it gets weird though. Tim Tebow's John 3:16 coincidence. Exactly 3 years after Tebow shared his message with the world, he inadvertently did it again during his first NFL playoff game with the Denver Broncos against the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2012. Besides leading Denver to an overtime win, thanks to a game-winning 80-yard pass to Demaryius Thomas, he invoked some pretty surreal numbers relating to the biblical line he repped in 2009. Tebow threw, look at this, for 316 passing yards. Tebow averaged 31.6 yards per completion, highest in the NFL postseason history. CBS final ratings for the game was 31.6. Pittsburgh's final time of possession was 31 minutes and 6 seconds. 360, CST 316 in all these numbers. Before making his way to the post-game press conference, Tebow explained he was stopped by a public relations person who began explaining to him what just occurred. I don't even think you realize what happened. During the game, you threw for 316 yards. Your yards per rush were 3.16. Your yards per completion were 31.6. The ratings for the game were 31.6. The time of possession was 31:06. During the game, 90 million people had already Googled John 3:16, and it was the number one thing trending on Facebook and Twitter. A lot of people will say this, it's coincidence. I say big God, Tim Tebow. That is amazing, people. That is amazing. Here it is. As for Tebow, his background makes his existence something of a miracle itself. His parents were Baptist missionaries in the Philippines before his mother, Pamela, contracted um, amoebic dysentery and fell into a coma. This caused complications in the pregnancy. Doctors advised her to have an abortion. She gave birth to Tim in August of 1987. An amazing, I mean, that is unreal numbers right there. What I love about this story is when you watch football, me being a football fan, not the biggest, but I used to be really big, but I have problems with it for a lot of ways. But in the crowd, you will always see, not always, but a lot of times, Christians will post Bible verses on, make a sign with a Bible verse. And the most common Bible verse you will see is John 3:16. That's what makes it so cool. But the numbers, I mean, to me, you cannot deny that God is working here. And to think that God can even control a football game if he wants to. He can even control the yards, the time of possession, the score, I mean, and all to his purpose. Just amazing. So now I want to look at this year's Super Bowl. What's going on with this year's Super Bowl? That one was a good thing in a Christian man. This one seems to be a little different. This year's Super Bowl, we have a pop star, Taylor Swift, connected to the Super Bowl. And this kind of started halfway through the season, this year's NFL season. But I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Let's read how Taylor Swift's lucky number 13 connects to Travis Kelce's Super Bowl appearance. I want to read this. This is amazing, guys. You're gonna cannot believe what's going on with the number 13 in this year's Super Bowl. As her boyfriend Travis Kelce and the Kansas City Chiefs prepare to take on the San Francisco 49ers during the 2024 Super Bowl in Las Vegas, Swifties have taken note of many ways the big game connects to the singer's lucky number. The number 13 has had a special significance in Swift's career through the years, as she has previously explained to MTV News. I was born on the 13th. I turned 13 on Friday the 13th. My first album went gold in 13 weeks. My first number one song had a 13-second intro. Every time I've won an award, I've been seated in either the 13th seat, the 13th row, the 13th section, or row M, which is the 13th letter. Basically, whenever the 13 comes up in my life, it's a good thing. After cheering on Kelce in various games this year, the upcoming Super Bowl should notably mark her 13th Kansas City Chiefs game if she attends. And that's just the beginning of a long list of coincidences. Super Bowl. Now we're going to get into the Super Bowl. This year marks the Super Bowl 58. 58th Super Bowl. When you add 5 and 8 together, you get the sum of 13. The date of the Super Bowl. Not only is the Super Bowl year significant, but the date it will be held also connects Swift as February 11th. 211, aka 211, adds up to, you guessed it, 13. The football team playing the Kansas City Chiefs. After the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Ravens in Baltimore, and the 49ers defeated the Detroit Lions in San Francisco, the Super Bowl came down to a Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers. The sum of the numbers of the Kansas City Chiefs rival team is 49. 4 plus 9 is 13. The 49ers. 4 plus 9 is 13. The seeds of the two football teams playing in the Super Bowl. While the 49ers secured the number one seed in the NFC, December 2023, the Kansas City Chiefs finished number 3 seed in the AFC. And what do you get when you put 1 and 3 together? 13. The number of Kansas City Chiefs games Taylor Swift has attended. As previously mentioned, if Swift attends a Super Bowl in her busy era's tour schedule, it shall mark her 13th Kansas City Chiefs game. The flight travel from Tokyo, Taylor Swift's, she's they've said, she's on a tour. So she's going to have a concert and she's going to be pressed to try and make it to the game. So let's read here. It says, to make things more interesting, Swift actually has a show in Tokyo, Japan, the day before the Super Bowl on February 10th. As Swifties decipher whether or not Swift will be able to jet to Las Vegas for the big game, they have already done the math on her flight travel time, of course. A direct flight is roughly 13 hours. So we can see there is something clearly amazing going on with the number 13, the Super Bowl, Taylor Swift's connection to the Super Bowl. And it's even got here where Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's relationship timeline. I'm not going to go into that, but there's something going on with the 13 there as well. But, so we see the number 13. So, What is God trying to show us with this 13? Now I'm going to go to, we've seen God do a miracle, and I think he's telling us something with this Super Bowl with the number 13. The number 13 is the number of rebellion in the Bible. If we look here, I like this page, this web page, because it shows me the order of the books of the Bible and their chapters. And if we look at the 13th book in the Bible, First Chronicles, we go to chapter 13. So we got the 13th book, because the order of the books of the Bible are amazing. They are ordered by God. You can learn so much from the order of the books of the Bible. And here we're looking at the 13th book in the Bible. Or wait, I gotta go to First Chronicles. First Chronicles chapter 13. This is the 13th book in the Bible. If we count from Genesis to First Chronicles 13. Now I want to read verses 1 through 4. And David consulted with the captains of thousands. Wait a minute. Let's go to chapter 1. It's chapter 1. It's actually chapter 1. So if you go to the 13th book in the Bible, and let's read chapter 1. I'm sorry. Well, let's not even read it. I'm just going to show you here. From Adam all the way to Noah. Sons of Japheth, yeah. There's no one. Let's read. Adam, Seth. This is given the genealogy from Adam all the way to Noah. Adam, Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. These are the sons of. So it goes all the way. This is how the 13th book in the Bible goes all the way up to Noah. We know Noah because what? It was the flood, God's wrath on this world for sin. And it goes, and it mentions his three sons. If you count all these, one from Adam to Japheth, the three sons of Noah, we get 13. 1, 2, 3. It's all 13 people. And what do you have with Noah? What does it say on the end times? It shall be like the days of Noah. So the 13th book, the first chapter, God gives us 13 men that take us all the way up to the flood and God's wrath. And the Bible always uses the story, not always, but it uses the story of Noah as symbolic of the end times. This is the 13th book, starts out with 13 men that take you up to the flood. If you go to Genesis chapter 13, I want to read verses 5 through 13. And the Lord also, and Lot also, which went with Abram, which is Abraham, had flocks and herds and tents, and the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so that they could not travel, they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelt then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. It is not the whole land before thee. Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes, and behold, all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves, the one from another. Abraham dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. Look at that. That's the 13th verse. Chapter 13. The first chapter 13 in the Bible, Genesis chapter 13, verse 13. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners. We know that Sodom and Gomorrah is also symbolic and a picture of what it's going to be like in the end times and what God's going to do. They were wicked sinners. We know the word sodomites, we get that from Sodom and Gomorrah, and we know what a sodomite is, or the sin of sodomy. That comes from Sodom, which is what we are seeing today. Also in the Bible, you will look, one of the sins of Sodom and Gomorrah is they were drunkards. See how rampant and prevalent drinking is in our world today. The homosexuality, how prevalent that is. It said Sodom's sin, they were presumptuous with their sins. They didn't hide their sins. They did not hide their sins. They were very open about it, in your face about it, kind of like what we see happening today. But the 13th chapter in Genesis, that's what's in the 13th verse. Look at what we get. And we look at the 13th book in the Bible, and it gives us 13 men that takes us up to the flood. This is amazing. Both stories are a picture of the end times. 13 is a picture of it's a number of rebellion, but it's also tied to the end times. Remember, I'm looking at this year's Super Bowl is connected to the number 13. I believe God is doing it, and He's telling us not only that we're in these end times, we know we're in the end times, but I'm going to get to what I think He's showing us. I want to look at the son of perdition. Let's go to the New Testament. I'm going to look at 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. I'm going to read verses 1 through 3. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, that's the rapture, that ye be not soon shaken in mind, or be troubled, neither by spirit, nor by word, nor by letter from us, as that day of Christ is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. The man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. This is what I think the number 13 and what God is showing us with the number 13. That the son of perdition is about ready to be revealed. Watch what I'm going to show you about this son of perdition. Let's look at John chapter 17. I want to read verses 9 through 12. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me. For they are thine, and all mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to thee, Holy Father. Keep through thine own name those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gavest me I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. Jesus called Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him, the son of perdition. This is amazing. When Now, what does it have in John chapter 13? John chapter 13. What do we see in John chapter 13? Let's read verses 1 through 2. 1 and 2. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own, which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. So the devil puts into the heart of Judas Iscariot, he puts the thought or the idea to betray Jesus into his heart. That is amazing. But look at it. It happens where? Chapter 13. 13. Look at if we read, go down here to 26 and 27. Jesus answered, He it is, to whom I shall give a sop, when I have dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Jesus unto him, Thou doest, do it quickly, do quickly. That thou doest, do quickly. So Satan enters before he put the idea into the heart of Judas. He put it into his heart. That's what it says in the Bible. He put it in. He didn't say idea. He said he put it into his heart to betray Jesus. In verse 26 and 27, we see Satan actually enters into. Oh, that is just. Boy, I would not want to. Man, I don't like the sound of that. But all this Judas betraying Jesus happens in chapter 13 in the Gospel of John. Do you think that's by coincidence? I know it's not. See, the number 13 here is connected to the man of sin. What did it say? That the rapture does not happen until that man of sin is revealed. I believe that God is telling us the man of sin is about ready to be revealed. And another strong reason why I say that, because of that 13 in the Super Bowl. Look at this. Look here. Revelations chapter 13 is all about the devil, Satan, the beast coming into power. Let's read verses 1 through 5, chapter 13. And I stood upon the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and that his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things of blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. 42 months, which is 3.5 years. It ends, this whole chapter is on the beast and the devil reigning on this earth in that tribulation period. The beast comes into power halfway through. Just made a video on all this. Let's read the last 3 verses. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man, and his number is 666. 666. Notice here it's verse 18. I talk about this a lot. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. The 13th chapter, 18th verse gives us that. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. 18 in the Bible is also an evil number. But Look at that 13 in the book of Revelations. This book is so coded, and it's all about the beast and Satan. The Antichrist dies, the beast enters into him, his reign on this earth. God is trying to tell us that the man of sin is about to be revealed. I believe pretty strongly in this. We'll see. I do believe it's Yuval Noah Harari. I'm not done yet, though. I got a few more things I want to show you guys. We just looked at here the number of the beast, verse 13, 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. 666. Now let's look at Mark. Remember, I said the beast comes into power. The Antichrist comes into power before he reveals himself before the rapture. But when he dies, because remember he kills with the sword the Christians, and he that kills with the sword must die by the sword. When he's killed, that beast is the bottomless pit is opened up, and that beast comes out of that bottomless pit and enters into the Antichrist. And now he has full control over his body, and he himself, the devil himself, is reigning on this earth. And we just seen he reigns 42 months, which is 3.5 years. Now I want to look at Mark 13, 18. Reason why I told you that is because look at this verse, 13, 18. And I pray that your flight be not in the winter. I believe that now, if you go before this, if we go up to verse 14, we see the abomination of desolation. This is halfway through. If you read this in Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, the abomination of desolation, when he makes the offerings in the temple to cease, he comes in and does something very, very horrible and causes the people to scatter, and all the sacrifices in the temple are stopped. What? Because of this abomination of desolation that he does, and it's halfway through. And God says, He warns the people, if during this time, if you're on the housetop, don't come down. Don't take anything out of the house, and let him that is in the field don't turn back again for to take up his garment. But woe to them that are with child and them that give suck in those days. He says, I pray that your flight be not in the winter. The flight is your escape. Flight means to escape evil. Flight. But notice it says in the winter, I use this as I believe God is telling us in His Word here that this, in the abomination of desolation, when that beast comes into the Jerusalem and into that temple, it's gonna be in winter. The reason why I say all this, watch if we do a keyword search for winter. 13 verses. Now, I also like to say, because in the Bible, remember, there's only 2 seasons. There's only 2 seasons: summer, winter, each one 6 months. We break it up into 4. We call the beginning of winter fall and the beginning of summer spring. But remember, I say that the rapture is going to happen in the summer. Jesus is going to come back for his bride, and that first resurrection happens in the summer, because the summer is connected to life. Jesus was resurrected in what? The beginning of summer in the Bible, or what we call spring. The first month, that's when the Bible year started. That's why I say the 2023 is still relevant, significant. I believe the rapture is going to happen at the very end or the beginning. I believe it's going to be the beginning of spring. So we see winter is 13 verses. So what if you hit summer? What do you think we're going to get? 27. Remember, I did the verse or a video on the number three, how God uses the number three with other in tandem with other numbers in significant meaning. Like the number of six is the number of sin in the Bible. Not a good number, but if you times it by three, you get 18. 18 is not a good number in the Bible. If you look at the 18 chapters, or you'll see. Um, three times four is 12. Four is the number of signs and wonders. And you do three times four is 12. And that gives you the number of Israel. And the Jews, what? They seek after a sign. That's what I'm showing you. That's what the number three does. The number nine is significant in the Bible because it is the ninth kingdom. Jesus is the ninth kingdom. Three times nine is 27. 27, you get 27 books in the New Testament. Jesus' life, his crucifixion, his blood gives us the New Testament. Remember if you read First Corinthians, when we celebrate, observe the Lord's Supper, remember 11:25, after the same manner he took it up, and when he had supped, saying, this cup is the New Testament in my blood. This do you as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. Jesus' life, his death, burial, and resurrection gives us the New Testament. We have 27 books in the New Testament. Even if you read Psalm 27, it is amazing. I did that before, but if you want to go into deeper, in the 27th book in the New Testament is the book of Daniel, based on the end times. When we get Daniel's prophecy, 70th week, bringing in the Messiah, the anointed one, which is Jesus coming into his kingdom. Notice it's chapter 9 where you see this. Jesus is the ninth kingdom. Okay. Another thing too, if you go into the Bible, remember this year's Super Bowl is number 58. Remember 5 plus 8 is 13. If we look in the Bible, the 58th book in the Bible, the book of Hebrews, chapter 13 chapters, it has 13 chapters. Not only that, it is the first book after the Pauline epistles. The first book. The Pauline epistles is where the church gets its doctrine from Romans to Philemon. And you know how many books those how many epistles Paul wrote. Paul wrote 13 epistles to the churches. 13 epistles. And then God turns back to the nation of Israel. In that tribulation period, one of the terms God uses is Jacob's trouble. The name he gives to this tribulation period calls it Jacob's trouble. It's also called the day of the Lord and other things. But Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7. This is amazing. The 58th book, we're in the 58th Super Bowl, 13 chapters. And it's called the book of Hebrews. In the tribulation period, God turned back to the nation of Israel, and that happens after the church is called up out of here. God does not mix the church and Israel together. That's why Jesus was sent to the house of the Lord. The Jews are always first. The gospel had to be preached to them, and that happened at Pentecost. The Holy Spirit being born again. After you put your faith in Jesus and believe the gospel was first preached to the nation of Israel at Pentecost. Chapter 2 in the book of Acts. Tell me this isn't amazing. 58th Super Bowl, and you get 13. And then it falls right after the Pauline epistles to the church, the 13 letters to the church. I don't know. There's something with this 13. The man of sin, I'm telling you, the man of sin is about ready to be revealed. If you guys enjoyed it, man, I enjoyed making this one. See you on the next one.